The most dangerous woman of all is the one that refuses to rely on your sword to save her because she carries her own. These words of R.H. Sin best suit our men today, the women. Yes, when we talk about narcos and crimes, we usually think of men like El Chapo or Pablo Escobar, ruthless men surrounded by a number of loyal, aggressive protectors. But today is different. Stay tuned as we dissect the world of some of the most dangerous women in narcos history. They were the ones who managed to overthrow and run the drug cartels themselves, as well as the ones who stood by the dangerous drug barons through their most volatile moments. Surprised? As expected, women usually symbolize peace and harmony, and having them as the villains of history seems so extraordinary. Now it's time to meet some of these dangerous women from Narcos. La Catrina, also known as Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel, who led a notorious hit squad leaving bloodbath behind everywhere they went. She has a very humble beginning as a daughter of a rancher and a housewife. She grew up in Tepalcatepec, but she was determined not to stay there for long. In 2017, she ran off from home and started living with a high-ranking narcotics baron of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. However, Maria did not join the cartel out of love for a man, but for love for fame and money. She climbed up the cartel ranks in just a few months and started making big, even showing it to social media. Not long after, she was named La Catrina, a hats off to the famous Day of the Dead festival figure. She became a member of Gang Sicarios, a group of pretty young women who used their beauty and innocent looks to lure and kill rival gang members. Maria became the commander of the hit squad, responsible for several assassinations, extortions and kidnapping. While Mexican police were executing a warrant in October 2017, they were ambushed by La Catrina's squad, killing 13 officers and injuring many others. They set 2 cars on fire. With these violence, they said it clearly, they wanted war. La Catrina felt so invincible. Police became so determined to catch La Catrina since then. And on January 10th, 2020, La Catrina was shot in the jugular in the middle of the violent shootout ensued by the National Guard. She was taken to the helicopter and died of blood loss, while other members of the squad were put down on their knees and cuffed. Maria Guadalupe Lopez Esquivel, known as La Catrina, ended her reign at the age of 21. Easy come, easy go. La Reina del Pacifico, known as Sandra Avila Beltran, who led a life filled with crime and glamorous relationships. Sandra did not really have a chance to live a normal life since she was a child. Born into the Sinaloa cartel, where her mother's family were operating as heroin smugglers, Alfonso Avila Quintero, her father, was the brother of the Guadalajara cartel leader Rafael Caro Quintero. Sandra grew up watching cold-blooded men do transactions and tough negotiations where violence was the language she came to be familiar with. At the age of 13, she was her father's official money counter. Though she was known to be very withdrawn, she finished journalism at a prestigious university. At the age of 21, while she was becoming a prominent figure in the Sinaloa cartel, Sandra started dating Armando Carrillo Fuentes, the boss of the Juarez cartel. However, her relationship with Fuentes did not last a long time. Quite a number of relationships afterwards were recorded, and her 2 marriages were more tactical than romantic. Quite obvious because her husbands were ex-police commanders turned traffickers. They knew the ins and outs of the Mexican police, which gave ways to her becoming a huge figure in substance smuggling. Both her husbands were stabbed to death by hired assassins. El Chapo himself was a rumored lover of Sandra, though no one really knows just how romantic their relationship was. Another affair surfaced with Juan Diego Espinosa Ramirez, known as the Tiger. He had strong connections to the Norte del Valle cartel in Colombia. This opened the opportunity for Sandra. Colombian and Mexican cartels were now united, and she was making even more money. Tuna fishing boat transporting 9 tons of white snow was seized by the United States in 2001. Imagine how many more were actually in the country before the DEA caught up with them. After this incident, Sandra got her title Queen of the Pacific, or La Reina del Pacifico. She got hundreds of people working hard to arrest her and to bring the Sinaloa cartel down. She lived 6 years on the run. Her son was even kidnapped as a result of her violent means. She was arrested in 2007, yet had remained adamant, complaining about almost everything. However, she was released in 2015 and is now living in Guadalajara. La Flaca. Her real name is Jocelyn Alejandro Nino, a young cartel assassin with a terrifying story. Jocelyn was born in the 1990s to a relatively poor family in Tamaulipas, northeastern Mexico. Jocelyn became a part of the Gulf Cartel at a very young age, though it is unclear whether she was influenced by family ties or her family's financial situation. In fact, she was a high school student when she became an assassin. During this time, she earned her nickname La Flaca. In English, this means the skinny one. Yes, she was relatively small compared to most of the other famous Narcos women. La Flaca, in Mexican tradition, is a female skeleton saint, the Our Lady of the Holy Death, which is usually depicted in artwork for the popular Day of the Dead festival. Being an assassin at the early age of 18 was some women's dream, but there is nothing cool about it. La Flaca took many lives under the instructions of her even more ruthless bosses. Nobody knows for sure how she climbed up the ranks so easily, but most girls her age started out by being lookouts for the gang or even illegal street workers, treated and mistreated in every unimaginable way possible before gaining some authority. In January 2015, La Flaca's picture was captured and sent to Valor por Tamaulipas, a citizen journalist page, and immediately flooded Facebook and Twitter. People were fascinated by this small young woman with a friendly smile, in contrast with her bulletproof vest and huge firearm she was holding. Everyone was just wondering about the background where the picture was taken. It was in a place far from being luxurious, just as everybody believes what Narcos is life after all. The thought of being mistreated and the unworthiness of risking their lives for the gang came to surface. What is the use of being such a committed member if you're going to live in poverty anyway? Does this picture mean that only the few top dogs get to live luxuriously while their employees and subordinates continue to live difficult lives? Some say this picture of La Flaca was a window into the tragic reality of Mexican cartels. The photo got thousands of likes online, and this also marks the beginning of the end for Jocelyn. She was a member of the Los Ciclones cartel led by Angel Eduardo Parado Rodriguez, aka Ciclone 7. Another gang, Los Metros, weakened the members of the Los Ciclones cartel, exposing them as easy targets for the police and also for the rival gangs. La Flaca had been an easy target since Ciclone 7 sent her to fight the Los Metros from Rio Bravo, the latter's territory. Here, La Flaca met a truly gruesome end. Police officers discovered her dismembered body inside a freezer in a parking lot, and throughout the day, more body pieces were found scattered around the town. La Flaca had been identified through her distinctive tattoo. She had written Nino on her arms. This word might just simply imply her surname, but it also means child. So, coincidence? She died somewhere between her late teens and early 20s. Adding salt to the injury was the autopsy result that she had been tortured first. Quite a ruthless act of Los Metros. Other members of Los Ciclones had also been killed and posted their dismembered bodies on social media with the caption, "This will happen to all the filthy who support Los Ciclones. Keep sending these." Just a manifestation that violence only leads to violence, and Mexican drug cartels are not a peaceful place indeed. La China. Real name is Melissa Margarita Calderon Ojeda. She was the commander of a cartel army that was so violent. She had a thirst for blood which gave a shock even to her boyfriend and her men soldiers. Looks can really be deceiving. Melissa was born on August 12, 1984 in Mexico. At her 20s, she decided her fate. She was going to be a cartel leader and she would do anything to get there. Melissa joined the Sinaloa cartel in 2005, more specifically the Los Damaso cartel, a subdivision of the Sinaloa cartel. She was ruthless and ambitious, and she did whatever other men can do while using her feminine charm tactically to climb up the ranks. In 2008, La China was the commander of the armed unit. Since then, crime rates in the area went up several times. She could kill cops, kidnap people for extortion, and dismember enemies from rival gangs. Just imagine this. La China's unit was responsible for at least 178 deaths. She would leave behind a number of casualties after every mission, and she would reward her men with big bags of white powder. There was a turn of luck in 2014 when Los Damaso cartel leader El Grande killed Melissa's boyfriend Eric. This made Melissa the army commander, which gave her the momentum of becoming more violent than ever. Anyway, violence is the only language cartel members understand, and Melissa was sure she wanted blood for blood. With 300 cartel soldiers, she started her own cartel, Las Puertas, together with her new boyfriend, Hector Pedro Camarena Gomez, who called himself El Chino to partner with El China. But even El Chino found El China too violent and bloodthirsty. Every turf war would result in a massacre. The police were now on her tail, and so she would keep moving from one town to another. Just for you to imagine how violent La China was, she killed people just to avoid paying for a car that she ordered. Even the sicarios who threatened her that he would report the incident to the police ended up dead after she cut his forearms off, shot his head and buried him in her usual mass grave. All these were witnessed by El Chino, and he could not take La China's violence anymore. He fled and became a witness against La China. And in September 2015, La China was arrested at the Cabo San Lucas International Airport while she was trying to flee the state. Now La China will spend the rest of her life in prison. La Jefa, this word means the boss. And for the Mexican cartel, this is Enedina Arellano Felix de Toledo. She was born on April 12, 1961, in Sinaloa to a family of traffickers. Enedina's older brother worked for the notorious drug lord and the Guadalajara cartel boss, Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo. Enedina got a bachelor's degree in accounting and used it to their advantage. She became the advisor of her 6 brothers and helped them with money laundering as the Tijuana cartel's financial advisor. When the Guadalajara cartel was destroyed, leaving most of its members arrested and some were killed, top positions were up for grabs. Enedina had a heated relationship with Armando Lopez, who was a close friend of El Chapo. Enedina's brothers assassinated Armando as they did not agree with their relationship. Seems like a normal thing to do if you do not like your sister's boyfriend, huh? But this incident just motivated Enedina the more to let her brothers see who's the real boss. When the cartel's financial boss died in 2000, she took over his position and eventually gained the upper hand over her brothers. She became the leader of the Tijuana cartel. However, La Jefa is very different from all the women that we've met today. She had been known for her methodical approaches to business and for her peaceful negotiations. She never swears nor orders assassinations. Her focus is on bribes and illegal drug trades. Both the DEA and Mexican authorities do not prioritize her, even though La Jefa leads one of the biggest Mexican cartels to this day. After meeting some of the most dangerous Narcos women in history, would you still consider them as a symbol of peace and harmony? What do you think of our video today? Let us know your thoughts.